The 17th century. The 17th century falls into the early modern period of Europe where major events took place such as the Baroque cultural movement, the Dutch Golden Age, and the general crisis. The Baroque period comes after the Renaissance and is characterized by the emergence of a unique artistic style that uses drama and majesty in literature, sculpture, painting, theatre, and music. The Dutch Golden Age was a period in Netherlands that marked the Dutch's huge success in science, military, trade, and art. In the early 17th century to the early 18th century, instability was widespread across Europe as problems were arising. This time period is called General Crisis. John Milton. Born in London on December 9, 1608. After earning his master's degree of arts from Christ College, Cambridge, John embarked on tour of France and Italy where his skills as a poet continued to grow. In the 1640s, a civil war broke out in England between the Parliament and King Charles I. This caused Milton to become more politically involved. He advocated for the right to divorce and sided with the Parliament. During this time, John began to gradually lose his eyesight and by 1951 he was completely blind. His sentence to jail in the 1960s for political resistance was due to the fall of the government he was supporting. Milton was soon released and lived in seclusion in the country where he recited to his daughters as they wrote down the acclaimed epic poem Paradise Lost.
Paradise Lost. Summary. Paradise Lost is a fictional retelling of the first chapter of the Old Testament. It consists of 12 books with more than 10,000 lines of verse. The story begins by describing Satan and his followers' defeat in a war they conducted against God. After the angels threw them into hell, Satan and his followers build a place called Pandemonium where they assemble to discuss if their next move should be another battle. Instead they decide on a safer route of revenge, which is exploring the new world that's been prophesied to be created. Satan commences the mission alone. On his way out, Satan meets his children, sin and death, by the gate of hell and they open the gates for him. He finds the new universe near the larger globe, heaven. The all-knowing God sees Satan approaching this world and predicts the fall of man. His son, who is by his right side, offers to sacrifice himself for man's rescue. In the meantime, Satan breaks into the universe. Angel Ariel, who serves as God's eyes, encounters Satan by the sun but is tricked into showing him the way to man's home. Satan enters the Garden of Eden and finds Adam and Eve. He immediately feels jealous after witnessing their beauty. Then, he overhears them speak about God's order against eating the forbidden fruit that hangs from the tree of life. Before he attempts anything wicked, he notices that the angels that guard paradise have become aware of his presence. He is captured by them and is eliminated from Eden. Raphael is sent to Adam and Eve by God to warn them about Satan. The second time Satan enters Earth he disguises himself as a serpent. Upon finding Eve alone, he whispers in her ear to eat the forbidden fruit. Adam decides to join in on her fate. They lose their innocence and gain awareness of their nakedness. This results in the Son of God descending to earth to judge the sinners. Sin and death perceive Satan's success and build a bridge to earth which becomes their new home. Michael reveals future events that are a result from their sin. Adam becomes disheartened after what he sees but is eventually by the news of the future coming of the Savior of mankind. After that, Michael expels Adam and Eve from the Garden of Paradise.
created using Powtoon.